What's up? It is time for an East Tennessee 2024 market predictions video. By the way, obviously I'm not normally here. This cabin that I'm in is actually a turnkey, fully furnished property with $1 million views right out that door, which if we have time, I'll show you. But I thought, you know what? This is a cool space to record. I had to come up here anyways. So we are going to talk 2024 market stats right in the heart of Wears Valley. And if you don't know what Wears Valley is, what are you doing? Just kidding. Look it up. It's beautiful. But okay, first of all, I want to also address that this is from the East Tennessee Realtors. Obviously they have an economist. His name is Hanson Sell. He has put together this data, so I want to give him full credit, and we'll also acknowledge when things are, from Freddie Mac or National Association of Realtors. But the bottom line is, if you want to see this report yourself, you can get the link from the East Tennessee Realtors website. And also any of the slides that you're seeing today, I've used those from East Tennessee Realtors and the 2024 market predictions presentation. This is specific to East Tennessee and Knox Metro, aka this is not a national market prediction for 2024. See that video elsewhere from me, but this is specifically about East Tennessee and Knox area real estate. All right, so let us dive in. A couple things about format. We're going to talk about the two big things that are predictions for the year for East Tennessee and the Knox Metro area. We're going to talk about economic conditions, and then we will talk about what's going on with inflation, mortgage rates. We're going to talk about housing affordability. We're going to talk about specific trends to watch for this year. Also some comparison cities, how are they doing? And then just the general market outlook for housing as well as rentals. So that's a brief agenda and rundown for the day. Okay, let's dive in. All right, here are your two takeaways. Once I say these two things, you could stop watching this video and you would be well informed. So the two major predictions are, I'm not telling you to stop watching, I'm just...
No, God, please, no, 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 no!
saying like you'd get the gist of the whole entire thing. The two major pieces, sorry, someone's like driving up on me.
A few moments later.
The two major predictions for 2024. Number one, we are going to see prices growing. Don't shoot the messenger. Now, they will not be as great of a trajectory as they have been in the past. The thought is maybe 3.6% increase over the year. This is because we're down in inventory still. This has been a chronic inventory problem, but also with the prediction of rates decreasing, this brings many more buyers into the market. The prediction is like, if rates drop below 6.5% this year, it makes housing affordable for an additional 16,000 buyers that have been currently knocked out of the market due to affordability. So number one, we are going to see price appreciation, but not at a crazy rate like what we've seen in the past. Okay, the second major prediction is that we're going to see an increase in annual home sales. Now, in 2022, the market was down 9% in overall transactions and overall sales. In 2023, the market was down 11% year over year, 2022 to 2023. Okay, that's a lot of decline over the past 2 years. The prediction for 2024 is that we are going to see an 11% increase in overall transactions in home sales in the Knox Metro East Tennessee area. This is exciting. This is largely due to the prediction about mortgage rates. Obviously that all hinges on what happens with mortgage rates. Again, the stat about affordability. Why do mortgage rates matter so much? So just to give you an example, in October of 2023, rates reached their height at 7.79%. If we're talking about a house that is $380,000, at a 7.79%, the payment, now there's a lot of there's a lot of factors that go into this. But if you just put it into a simple mortgage calculator, your payment would be $2,700 a month, roughly $2,733. So roughly $2,700 a month for a house that's $380,000 at a 7.79% mortgage rate with the same conditions, same amount down, same credit score, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That same $380,000 house at a 6.63% mortgage rate, which is where we are at as of February 1st. I'm making this video on February 3rd of 2024. So that same house, 7.79% mortgage rate, $2,733 mortgage payment. At a 6.63, which is where we are again at the very beginning of February 2024, that mortgage payment with all the same conditions is $2,434, which is a difference of $299. So over the course of 12 months, that is $3,500 basically, $3,588. Now, if you've got a 30-year mortgage, that's over $100,000 difference. So from a year-over-year perspective, $3,500, which is a vacation, okay, that's a cruise, or maybe whatever, it's $3,500, okay? But over the course of 30 years, if you were to stay in your house for 30 years and never refinance, $100,000, okay? So mortgage rates matter, and it definitely has a lot to do with affordability. So another thing I want to mention, we're going to talk about this at the end, is we will see, or the prediction is we will see a rebound in the rental market in the sense that over 2020, 21, 22, 23, we were at max capacity. Essentially, rates were astronomical for rent because, again, there was just not enough inventory of places to rent. So the prediction is because we have about 3,500 units, new construction, new units coming online sometime in 2024, the expectation is that we're going to see more a leveling of the rental market. So those are kind of your big predictions overall for 2024. So let us jump into current economic conditions and kind of the macro piece of what's happening, economically is impacting East Tennessee, and what are East Tennessee and Knox Metro economics looking like. So the first thing is, the big takeaway is actually things look positive. There was huge prediction that there was going to be massive.
Wait for it. Here it comes. Almost there.
That there was going to be a recession. Oh my God, there was. Okay, there was a huge prediction that there was going to be a recession. Jesus.
You could do so. You want
recession in 2023. This recession did not happen. Now economists believe that we are kind of in the clear when it comes to, is a recession on the brink? No. The thought is no. The thought is we are coming into a soft landing from the craziness of the pandemic. Things are leveling out. Everything is okay. Now, there's a couple factors that we are not sure about. And one of those factors is, what is the Federal Reserve doing? Are they going to over-tighten and be extremely aggressive in their actions? Number two, volatility in the banking system. And number three, essentially, is there going to be a spike in pricing, an energy pricing? So those three things, what the Fed does, what's happening with the banking system, and then also energy prices, those are kind of things that are going to impact what's happening in the overall economy, which is then going to trickle down to what's happening in the East Tennessee area. Now, East Tennessee largely remains somewhat its own situation and doesn't necessarily mirror what's happening at the national economic level on average, just because of what the area offers and what's going on in the area. So that's another positive thing. And just if you're looking at GDP for the US versus the Knox metro area, so 2023 GDP was 3.5%. Okay, so Knox metro GDP, gross domestic product, was 3.5% in 2023, which outpaces what annually the GDP is over the past 20 years. On average, the Knox metro GDP is at 2.2%. So last year was great. Certainly not a recession in the area. Although the prediction is for 2024, we're going to see GDP slow to around that same average of about 2%. So that is great. When it comes to inflation, again, on this economic situation, so we know that the Fed took a lot of aggressive action when it comes to mortgage rates. In the summer of 2022, we saw the greatest inflation based on the price index we had seen at 7.1%. The Fed took action, and it is said that as a result of that, in 2023, we saw a decline in inflation, and by November 2023, we were at a 2.6%. The Fed wants that to be at 2%. So much better than the 7.1 in the summer of 2022. The Fed's not quite where they want to be at 2%, but November 2023, we were at that 2.6%. So those are all positive things, and those would all point in the direction that, like, you know, we're going to see mortgage rates come down based on those inflation things. But again, as mentioned, there's a lot of unknowns in this process. So just some things to keep in mind there. Just as a side note, when it comes to, you know, kind of the action taken by the Fed and what's happening in Knox Metro, we have seen a lag in growth of jobs, even though we are still historically in a better position. So, for example, the report says job growth across the region continues to slow, with monthly job gains in November of 2023 falling below the long run average for the first time since July of 2020. Moreover, the metro's unemployment rate increased to 3.2% in November, which is slightly higher than October 2023, but still exceedingly low by historical standards. So there's kind of this interesting thing happening where we have jobs available, but unemployment is slightly on the rise, but still lower than historical levels. So that being said, there's a lot of talk, or maybe I just hear a lot of talk about what's happening with wages and income, etc. So this is a really interesting stat that I would not have guessed, just because I feel like we hear a lot of negative news, and I think this is actually a great thing. So the idea here is that in contrast to slowing job growth and rising unemployment, which again is not higher than historical levels, it's still historically low, not horrible, wage growth was actually very strong across East Tennessee due to the fact that the labor market is tight. So that being said, wages were up 5%, comparing November 2022 to November 2023, which is great. Wages up 5%, 2022 versus 2023, awesome. So this outpaces what's happening nationally, where wages are up nationally 4%. So I think that's another just like super bright spot of what's happening in the market in general. Love it. I think it's awesome. Let's move on. Okay, let's talk about housing affordability. We've talked about the economics piece of it. We've talked about what's probably happening with rates. We're not quite sure. We're thinking somewhere in the 6s. We don't quite know. Jobs overall, East Tennessee looking good. Wages up more than the national average, November 2022 to November 23. So that being said, housing affordability is a serious problem in the area. I'm going to just read you this exact stat, and then we're going to break it down. So obviously we have the situation with rates, right? And then we have the situation with inventory, aka lack of things to buy. These two pieces together have caused an increase in pricing, right? Which increase in pricing and increase in rates is essentially a double whammy when it comes to housing affordability. Okay, so elevated borrowing costs, which manifest in the form of higher monthly mortgage payments, drove the decline in affordability over the past year. The median sale price in East Tennessee region rose by a modest 5.6% across 2022 and 2023. So the median sale price rose 5.6%, okay? But higher interest rates resulted in monthly payments increasing more than 20% over the same time period. So 5.6% increase in pricing, but the increase in rates resulted in more than a 20% increase in monthly mortgage payments. As a result, the annual income needed, listen to this, the annual income needed to afford the median home price rose from $78,254 in 2022 to $94,191 in 2023. So this is basically saying that roughly 2/3 of residents cannot afford a median home price home because they're not making $94,000 a year. Just in terms of wage increase, what's the difference between 78,000 to 94,000? Okay, so a 5% increase on 78,000 puts you at $82,000 basically. So most people are not going 1 year from 78,000 the next year to $94,000 in income. So that's this affordability piece is, yeah, home prices did rise at that 5.6%, but because of the mortgage rates, that made monthly payments 20% higher, which means you would have had to make a lot more money in order to afford the same house. So there's certainly an issue with affordability when it comes to what's happening with who can buy, who is able even to be in the market to buy. So the stat is specifically that, essentially interest rate, we saw a 27.5% change, 2022 to 2023. The median sales price went 5.6% higher. Down payment cost 5.6% higher. Monthly principal and interest payment 23.6% higher. Total monthly owner costs are up 20%. Annual income needed would be a 20% increase. Well, we saw that wages went up 5% on average. So it's not working. It ain't working. You know what I mean? And then also this idea about housing supply. Housing inventory did show signs of improvement in recent months, with the number of available listings increasing by 3.5% November 2022 to November 23. However, the number of homes priced below $300,000 was down 21%. So not only do we have this affordability problem, the supply of homes that are under $300,000 is down 21%. So if you're wanting to purchase a home under $300,000, you are, this seems aggressive, but it's not good. I was gonna say you're screwed, but that's a little bit aggressive. You know what I'm saying? So not great. Interestingly, houses inventory, active listings at $1 million plus, up 32%. So it's we saw increased inventory in the $300,000 to $500,000 range, the $500,000 to $700,000 range, $700,000 to the $999,000, and then also increase in the $1 million range, whereas anything under $300,000 was a decrease in inventory by 21%. That is significant, and again, this is part of the problem with what's happening with affordability. All right, so things we want to watch for. First of all, there's a lock-in effect going on, aka 56% of homeowners with a mortgage rate in Tennessee have a rate below 4%. So they need to have a really high incentive to sell. Maybe that's a relocation, whatever. But if you have a rate below 4%, and now you're looking currently at a 6.63%, I mean, it's a bit of an ask, right? So, by comparison, in 2013, only 19% of homeowners had a mortgage rate under 4%. So, I mean, it's pretty good. The majority, 56% under 4%, that's really good. The idea is that if rates go below 6.5%, the number is that 16,000 people will be able to come back into the housing market and again be able to afford to buy a new house. So that's one part of it. Is that, you know, the rates are a situation. There will be some loosening of people not so locked into that under 4% if they can get something below a 6.5%. Even if rates come low, they drop. That people that have this 4% rate or less, they may potentially see that as essentially free money. Why not just buy another property and use current house as a investment property, as a rental property? So that's kind of an interesting twist. I think we'll obviously see what happens over the course of the year. But it's kind of an interesting way to look at things, which, I mean, you know, that is a good thing in terms of like building, you know, equity and long-term wealth. Maybe not such a great thing when it comes to our inventory problem. All right, so another side note and something that could help the inventory problem. So say all these people who have a less than 4% rate and they decide they want to buy a house, say they make their current house a rental property and they think, okay, well, we're going to go buy a new house. Well, on one hand, that's like, ugh, what about our inventory? On the other hand, this stat literally blew my mind. Listen to this. Homeowners who own their home outright amounted to 44% of all owner-occupied homes in the Knox metro area in 2022. 44%. Now, those people, one train of thought is they're not locked into a mortgage rate, so maybe they're going to be more likely to sell because they're not locked into this 4%. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Again, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. Perception about if it's a good time to buy a house or not. The consumer perception is like, no, it's not a good time. The latest survey data shows that 7 in 10 Americans in December said they think the economy is on the wrong track, with 83% saying they believe it's a bad time to purchase a home. Therefore, much like in 2023, overcoming mounting consumer pessimism will prove to be a significant challenge for the East Tennessee housing market in 2024. And it's going to require, according to the East Tennessee Realtors, it's going to require addressing things about housing affordability, and then also emphasizing the long-term value of home ownership. Now, home ownership is great for some people and not for others, right? Probably if you're watching this video, you probably own a home and you're probably thinking about buying a new home, selling a home, etc. So that piece of it is probably not as big when it comes to the long-term value of owning a home. I think it's more about the idea of affordability and if there's a financial incentive to it. So that being said, we know another kind of big elephant in the room when it comes to the Knox metro area is migration and people relocating into the state. Knoxville is still ranked top 25 by United Van Lines to have the top inbound destinations. Knoxville also claimed similar spots on lists for top growth cities from U-Haul, number 17, and Pods, number 7. So East Tennessee remains to be a place where people want to come, a top destination because of pricing, perceived affordability, as well as like our beauty, what we have, where we are regionally, what we have to offer. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing that people, a lot of times locally, people are like, oh, all these people are coming, but it's actually a good thing. It means we live in a desirable place where people want to be. So anyways, that also being said, what percentage of movers are actually relocators? So roughly 20% of movers from 2015 to 2019 were from out of state, whereas 27% of movers have been from out of state. So 27% of people moving in general in the East Tennessee Knox metro area are from out of state. I thought that would actually be higher, but I mean, that's a fourth essentially of people moving are from out of state. Where are these people coming from? The top origin cities that people are coming from are Chicago, Nashville, DC, Atlanta, and LA. The top destinations people are going to if they are moving out of the Knox metro area are Nashville, Chattanooga, Johnson City, Atlanta, Kingsport, and Bristol. Interestingly, 4 of those places that they're going to are in Tennessee. Nashville, Chattanooga, Johnson City, Kingsport, Bristol. And I think you could have just said the Tri-Cities there, right? So anyways, there's also this idea that all these rich people are coming in and gobbling up our houses with their cash bags. The stat is that the typical inbound mover earns 27% more in 2021 than people moving out. So essentially, people coming in earning 27% more than whoever's going out, more money coming into the East Tennessee area, Knox Metro. And then when it comes to the specific breakdown, I think this chart is like fascinating. So go check that out. But again, this idea that like these people are rich and they're pushing us out of the market. Well, in Knox County specifically, the people moving in earn 13% more than the outbound movers. So, yeah, I mean, the East Tennessee Realtors phrase it as East Tennessee is attracting higher earning migrants. So yeah, interesting, right? Finally, a couple more notes on peer cities. Check out the reports if you want to know specifically, but based on geographics, demographics, and economics of comparable cities are Chattanooga, Durham, North Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, Nashville, Raleigh, and Winston-Salem. So several other Tennessee cities and a couple North and South Carolina cities. Knoxville shows favorability and shows like it's a good place comparatively. For example, we have a lower violent crime rate than most of those cities. Our wage growth is stronger than those cities. Our job growth is stronger than several of those cities. We were number 1 in home price growth, which I don't think is necessarily great. And then affordability for renters is not as great as the others, but the share of listings that first-time home buyers can afford is up comparatively. So anyways, I mean, overall, we are a strong competitor when it comes to regionally places that are not regionally, but places in the Southeast that are comparable to what's happening in Knoxville, but also, you know, we certainly are doing better than almost on every single stat, better than what's happening in the U.S. I'm just checking. So share of high earner millennial renters moving from a different state, 2.6% for national, 1.4% in Tennessee. So we're less there than the national. Our violent crime rate is slightly less than the national. So anyways, overall, we're looking favorable comparatively to both East Tennessee regional comparative cities and the national average. So overall housing market outlook is positive. Yes, we are going to see prices go up. The prediction again is about 3.5%. Median sell price, 3.6%. I was off by 0.1. Okay. The home sales, though, are also projected to go up 11.1%, which is great. I think that is a great stat. I think that's super promising. That would indicate that buyers are coming back into the market and things are becoming more affordable. The projection is that rates will drop to 6.2%. I have heard some people say under 6 by the end of 2024, while others are holding strong to this low 6%. I mean, that's a 100% who knows TBD. It's an election year. There's craziness happening, right? So that being said, I mean, overall, I think it looks positive. I don't think this is like a doom and gloom prediction for 2024. I love the idea that we're going to see an increase in transactions. This is going to be great for buyers and sellers. And then prices not skyrocketing. So the stat is, check out the chart. But essentially in 2022, the median sell price increased 16.7%. Okay. Then 2023, the median sell price went up 5.3%. So 16% in 2022, and then 5% more than that in 2023. So that is a lot. So the fact that we're looking at this 3.6% is saying, yeah, prices are going to go up, but they're not going to be as crazy as they have been the past few years. So I think that's a positive thing. And then also, this mortgage rate being lower, again, positive. I think it's all looking positive. And then just a final note about rentals, what's happening with rentals. There's a crazy stat in this report about the cost of rentals and how much they've increased. The cost of rentals 2020 to present day to 2023, the cost increased 56% for a rental. That is literally insanity. And my husband, they have a lot of rentals, and it's a long story, but I was like, this is crazy. It's a long story while I'm saying that, but I think we, basically they've stayed at the same rental rate for 20 years. Okay. And are not at market values. And, it's a long story, but I was just like, dude, I'm not saying that we need a price gouge, but I mean, come on now, 20 years, you haven't raised the rate. Meanwhile, everyone else is like 56% higher. Anyways, it's insane. I can't get over it. But that being said, the forecast for the rental market for 2024, occupancy is said to be 96.4%. 2023 was 96.5%, 98.2% in 2022. So there's going to be some more rental options. A lot of this, again, is because there is going to be about 3,500 new units that are going to hit the market. So we should see some loosening in availability for rentals. Rent up a little bit, and then rent growth overall 3.1%. Whereas we saw 17.7% in 2022, which is insane. So we'll see. We will see. With that rent growth is like who's renting. So a 3.1% increase in who is renting. But again, the idea is that because we have so many new construction units coming online, that the rental market is not going to be as cray-cray as it was in 2022, 2023. So again, 2 takeaways. Prices are going to go up slightly. This is because we continue to be low in inventory, and because we are going to see more buyer demand. So supply is down. When rates are down, demand is going to be up. Our supply is already low. And the other prediction is that we are going to see a surge. Maybe surge is a little aggressive, but we're going to see an increase in home sales. Again, this is predicted due to predicted mortgage rate decline. So we will see. We will see what happens. 2025, we'll have a whole new market prediction, but overall, it actually looks like things are positive. And I know there's a lot of doom and gloom everywhere. I am always like looking on the bright side, or at least I'm trying to. Not always. I try to look on the bright side. And I also want to say that, this certainly helps inform what you do and how you act as a consumer. It's just one piece of the information, right? So we don't ever go into a home purchase or home sale thinking, oh, we've timed the market over, just absolutely perfect. Like, I don't think that's a thing. I think you use the information you have that makes the most sense for you and your family. If you want to relocate because you're miserable wherever you are, but maybe the rate isn't what you want, then you can refinance. If you are in a currently in a property where your rate is 2.7% and the idea of upgrading or getting a different house is like your dream, but then you're going to get in that house and hate it every day because you're paying so much in interest, then it's not worth it. So you have to evaluate what is best for you and your family, and what you want, and not, we can nitpick decisions all day, but I think it's just being very clear about what you want and if it makes sense for you currently to make a move in the current market. So I'll get off my little preacher box there. And let me know if you have questions. Go check out the report yourself. This forecast, it's fascinating. Of course, I geek out over this stuff. I tried to give a broad, big picture overview of what to expect in the 2024 market in the Knox metro area. So again, I'm Haley Jones. If you want more information about this, about the Knoxville area, as always, click subscribe. I love to share information with you, and I'll see you on the next video.